Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who have never watched A Real Talk with Rachael-Lea, it was a weekly show for about 2 years, and then I took a second and needed just a breather. But coming back to Real Talk, it's not going to be an every week thing, but I've decided that it's going to be shows with impact. Some of them more impactful than others, but this definitely is going to be an impactful show. So Ravi says there's a little echo coming back. Yeah, I noticed that there was a little one, so I feel like if I step away a little bit, there's less. Are you hearing as much? It's a little bit. Annabelle, maybe turn down your volume on your laptop, maybe.
Yeah, I'll do that. I can't hear an echo with you, but when I spoke just now, I got a huge echo. So I don't know if that's what everybody's referring to. I don't know if it's you, Rachael-Lea. I think it might be me that they heard the echo from.
How is the echo bearable, guys? Let me know. The echo is bearable. Okay, so Caden says it's not so bad. All right, so I have wanted to have this conversation with Annabel. First of all, Annabel, welcome, and thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'm truly honored that you are choosing to speak with me. I'm going to take down our names for a moment. Now, I met Annabel through my sister's friend of a friend, but really on Facebook is where we really connected, right? Sort of?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I started to hear Annabel's story, and I went, wow. So maybe tell us a little bit, it might be a little bit of an echo, but tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, well, that's huge, Rachel. What bit would you like me to tell?
Let's say 2 months ago. I mean, 6 months ago when I met. What was like your announcement?
Okay, so I met Rachel. The time that Rachel and I connected was in, I guess we're talking about August or September of last year, which was 2018. And I had just learned from my oncologist that I had 2 months to live. So I already had a recurrent stage 4 ovarian cancer diagnosis, and it had recurred. It had recurred earlier last year in June. But when I met Rachel, I had learned that I had 2 months to live. So what happened at that point and why she met me was because I decided that I didn't have a moment to lose, and it was time to grab life with both hands and make my one life count. So I started to do YouTube videos, which is how you first became aware of me, wasn't it? And your sister as well. I knew of your sister locally, and I think Suzanne and I were friends on Facebook.
Yes.
But I didn't know you, so we started connecting. So yeah, I made some videos. I wrote about it quite openly on Facebook. I'm not a social media guru at all. I don't even have an Instagram account. Sorry, guys. So
that's okay.
The only platform I use is Facebook, and I used it to share my experiences. But I wanted to talk from an empowering place. I've never, in the 3.5 years of having cancer, I've never wanted to be seen as a victim. I've never allowed it to take over my life. It hasn't held me back, unless it physically has during chemo or surgeries, but I've never used it as an excuse. I think my friends would agree I've not played the cancer card, and I don't see any reason to. There's a whole life out there to live, no matter what state we're in. We can live it to the best of our potential.
Right.
So yeah, I started off with these videos, and one of them I think I did was called Why I'm Privileged to Know I'm Dying. And that seemed to be very popular and caused a lot of interest. I don't know if it was a contentious title. But I think why you were intrigued, Rachael-Lea, and why we forged that connection was because I said that so many of us face death, and it can be very fast and quick. We don't know we're going to die. I'm sure anybody watching this now knows somebody who has died in that way. Some awful story of they've gone out on their motorbike or they're in the car or whatever the situation and they didn't come home.
Right.
And I wonder, did they get their affairs in order? Did they, and more importantly, did they tell the most important people in their lives how much they loved them? Did they spend time with those people? Did they say the things that were meant to be said? Did they do the things that were meant to be done? And were they who they were meant to be because this tragedy occurred that they weren't expecting? And I've always thought since August, and now we're in February 2019, that it's a privilege because I've had this time. And has it been easy? Not at all. I mean, I went for a quick nap this afternoon. I ended up waking up 2.5 hours later, and I felt like death. Well, I almost did feel like death. But I knew that I had made this commitment to talk to you, Rachael-Lea, and I want to do it. So I shook myself off and brushed myself down, and I got ready, and I put some makeup on, and I put a dress on, and I feel great. I feel like $1,000,000 now because I've dressed up and I've shown up. But to go back to the privilege part, I feel it's a privilege. I was given 2 months to live. It meant that I could get my ducks in a row. There were financial things and administrative things and things I had to sort out with my husband and horrid stuff like funeral directors, and I wanted celebration of life and talking to my friends about that. So lots and lots of things like that. But then there was fun stuff. So my husband and I were planning on going to Nepal in November of last year. Nepal was the country where we had met in 1995. He's Canadian, and as you can probably tell, I'm from the UK.
Yes.
And that's where we met. And we wanted to go full circle. We wanted to go back to that country. We returned in 97, to teach English. We wanted to see some of the families that we'd met there and stayed in touch with. So although we didn't wait till November, because I was told I had 2 months to live, we went at the end of August instead. So I grabbed life and we went back to the country where we met, and we had an amazing 2 weeks. And was I limited? Yes, I had a walker with me. I needed to sleep a lot. There were challenges that I faced, but I still did it. I wasn't going to let that situation pass me by. And we also went back to the UK for a period of time to spend some time with my parents, and really importantly to see old friends that I wanted to say goodbye to.
Right.
So we seized that moment.
I wanted
those.
Quickly interrupt you because as the show goes on, there's some comments that have come up, and
good.
So one of them is Renee, who says, "I love that. Dress up and show up. Kudos to you for that." And then,
thank you, Renee.
Donovan says, "I love her attitude." So yeah, guys, I do want to encourage you. I forgot, usually with my guests, I give a little prep prior to showtime, and I forgot to give you that prep. I may interrupt you, Annabelle, only because I love to throw up comments of what people
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, and guys, I want you, part of the reason why I did this topic is because actually Annabelle has an amazing sense of humor, and she doesn't, quote unquote, look like she's dying, right? Her energy is amazing, but you look at somebody and you're like, oh, well, I'm sure when I posted earlier and said, I'm going to be talking to Annabelle, she's like surpassed her, her diagnosis of 2 months. She's at 6 months. And death is actually something that she's really aware of, but man, does she have a personality, and man, are you living life and grabbing life by both hands. So if you have questions, I would love you to bring it up, or if you have some experiences, I'd love you to bring it up. Okay? I'm so sorry, Annabelle. Do you remember where I cut you off?
Oh yeah, no problem. I love questions, Rachael-Lea. So I want your people to ask as many as they want to ask, and also to those of you watching now and later. I always think questions are so informative because I know when I'm in a setting and somebody asks a question, they probably have asked a question that I needed to ask or I thought of, and it really helps me understand as well. So yeah, no questions. I will avoid no questions. I love being as informative as I can. I don't know that there was anything more to add to that part, Rachel. It was more about the gift I feel that I was given, and the privilege I've had in knowing the time frame. Now,
Right.
I would like to say something about my oncologist. I was talking to a friend earlier today. My oncologist has never dropped numbers at me. She had, in the 3.5 years we've known one another, she's never said, "Oh, you've got this much time." That's just not her policy, and I respect her so much for that. She's very much come from a "I'm supporting you to live" place rather than "let's avoid dying" place.
Right.
So I really had to twist her arm in August, and the place that I came from was, things are obviously getting a bit sticky now. This is my third diagnosis, and I want some kind of time frame to know what kind of life Michael's my husband, Michael and I have.
Right.
Are we talking about years yet? So we don't need to panic about holidays and travel and things we want to do.
Right.
Or are we talking about a few months or a year or 2 years? So it's a bit more imminent and we need to start making some plans.
Right.
And that's when she said, I believe, looking at this, and everything into consideration, 2 months. And so I just wanted to make that clear because I believe, I don't know because I haven't had an oncologist like this, but there are oncologists out there that are very happy to throw out numbers, and how disorientating and decisive that can be, Rachel.
Right.
Like for some people, if they're given a time frame, then that's the belief system. Oh, okay, 2 months, that's me. I mean, I never for 1 minute, when she said 2 months, I never for 1 minute thought, I think it worked out to be something like October the 8th. I didn't think, right, on October the 8th, that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't think that, but it was very helpful to have a time frame to know what I was up against,
Okay,
and what I was able to do.
Gonna interrupt you. There is one that's a comment. Can you see the questions, Annabelle?
I can scroll down.
Okay, so Renee said you cannot put an expiry date on death. Why do we allow people or doctors to limit our existence? So you kind of touched on that. There's a really great question that came up with Sarah, and she said, just joining in, Annabelle, what are your biggest fears?
Thank you, Sarah. I often, so please know I'm not shirking and not answering the question. I want to kind of go in with a general comment and then be specific. I often have, or I've read recently, that when we think of dying, it's not the fear of dying, and I say we, I mean collectively in general. It's not actually the dying that we're afraid of, it's the suffering that precedes the dying. And of course, I've had time to think about that quite a bit, particularly this year. Like January, I ended up in the palliative care ward in one of our local hospitals over Christmas. And that's when I realized that there are times where I'm not able to look after myself anymore. Like I was in a pain crisis. I needed that external medical support.
Right.
And so really from that time and into January onwards, I have been suffering physically way more. I'm in a lot of pain, and there's, for example, I'm attached to a morphine pump 24 hours a day, so I'm constantly having pain relief to avoid going into the pain crisis that I went into at the end of November. So I think, Sarah, one of my biggest fears is, it even happened earlier this week, that I will be in so much pain that I will feel like it's going so far downhill that it's uncontrollable, that I won't come out of that pain, if that makes sense.
It does.
And then what's interesting about that, Rachael-Lea, is it's happened 3 times. It's happened 3 times this year when I've gone into, I'll call it that funky place where I feel like, oh, I'm sliding down. And what if this is it now? It's just a continual sliding down. But do you know, every time, I'm not saying it's immediate, and it's definitely not the same day, but every time I have managed to flick the switch. And I did it last night. I was just able to suddenly, things kind of calibrated, and I started to see things a bit differently. So some of the symptoms eased, and that's got to make a difference. But I started to see important things. So, for example, I knew we were meeting tonight, and that was a focus. Yeah, and I knew that another girlfriend and I are working on a project, and I started to focus on that rather than I'd compartmentalize that and put that over there and thought, I can't think about that this week. I started to think about it more, and I could feel viscerally, I could feel it affecting me differently, like my body was juicing up and starting to feel excited. So I can't, if anybody is thinking, gosh, how do you do that? Because we could do that. I mean, please, no, I'm not suggesting you have to think about dying. It could be anything scary that we're going through. I know that we're all capable of that, but I can't say exactly what I did. It was more of an awareness that there's more about my life than only moving towards dying.
Okay.
I mean, I'm so much more than that.
I'm going to interrupt you. I feel that, but I'm just going to start interrupting when I can. Okay. Just because there's so many wonderful things. So Lori said, amazing convo about one's life here. And Monique brought this up. It was one of my questions. She said, you always hear so much about changing diet. What are your thoughts? But my question is a lot of times when people are sick or they've got a disease or whatever, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, in your inbox, Annabelle, that have said, do this, take this herb, walk backwards, put on some magical shoes. Like, do you get that? And how do you feel about that? Like, does it get frustrating, or do you just say, so 2-part question. One, are you using alternative, or were you using alternative methods to get well? And B, how do you feel about it when people, or religion, they put religion on you or whatever? And we're going to come back to that as well. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think to answer the bit about you saying, again, I'm sure we all have this, where there's been over the years a lot of people offering advice. So that could be different therapies, different modalities, other kinds of surgeries, people very against chemo and into alternative things. And I did a very holistic approach. I used chemo, and I also used a number of different alternative complementary approaches, including things like vitamin C IVs, thermotherapy, which was heating specifically on my belly, various heat chambers that I went into, and all sorts of things, from Reiki to massage to acupuncture, all those sorts of things that I still regularly do. So I feel like I used a plethora of different things. And I believe it was Laurie, thank you, Laurie, about the diet specifically. Indeed, I've always eaten very healthily anyway. I'm not suggesting being a vegetarian is more healthy than not. I was a vegetarian for most of my life. At the time of being diagnosed, I wasn't, as it happens. Mm-hmm. I have dipped into veganism since having cancer, and various other things. So not now, because it takes too much energy, but I have been a great juicer. In fact, I may start juicing again, but it's probably more likely that a friend will juice for me. I don't have the energy now to stand in the kitchen do that. And also smoothies and things like that. I find what I've done more so is listen to my body. What's it craving? So, for example, I'm not eating oatmeal at the moment, porridge. I don't know why my body is just not tolerating oats, and it did at one point. So I just listen, like, what's going on? What do I want? What am I craving more so? But also, that said, I do feel like at this point in my life, I'm really not going to be too, dare I say it, be too anal about it.
Yeah, just
I mean,
right?
That's right. I want to grab life with both hands. So if that means I go out to lunch with a friend and I want to eat a chicken burger, I mean, we're not at McDonald's or something, but we were at a nice coffee shop, that's what I'm going to do. I just really listen to, oh, what do I want? What do I feel like right now?
Don't you have Annabelle's? Isn't there an Annabelle drink?
Oh, yeah, you bet. So 3 of my friends made the Annabelle cocktail. Absolutely. Because I'm a big fan of Moscow Mules with vodka and ginger beer. And so they devised the Annabelle, which is vodka, lime, grapefruit cordial, and then sort of like a fizzy soda. I think soda water, that was it. Yeah. So yeah, so three friends in the States have created the Annabelle. I love it. So yeah, that's what I want at my celebration of life, Rachael-Lea. I want everybody drinking Annabelle. Or mocktails if they're not into vodka.
Even though I probably won't be there, I will make sure I drink an Annabelle.
Absolutely.
You know, and some people might be like, oh my gosh, how can they talk about this? Like, and I was about to say, my friend Caden, he loves, what is it? See, I'm clearly not a drinker. What are they called? Not an Annabelle, but what are they called? What is it, Caden?
Cocktail?
Yeah, but no, it's a certain drink. You mentioned it, but I forget. Caden will.
Oh, Moscow Mule.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's Caden's drink. So I have another. What makes you happy these days?
That's a question somebody's asking.
No, that's my question to you.
Oh, this is a great question. I'm going to turn that around and say what feeds my soul is connection. I just become a junkie for wanting to be with or talking to, like this, friends. So today, the friend I was talking to is in Florida. Well, I'm in British Columbia. We're so far from one another. We will never meet. We are very old Facebook friends. But it just feeds my soul to talk to people, find out what's going on in their life, have some deep, juicy convo, plus some giggles and laughs, and shoot the shit and talk about fun things in life as well. That really makes me happy, Rachael-Lea. And I just genuinely feel now, really, relationships are all that matters. That is what creates the love. That is what creates the energy, the expansiveness in which we live. It's everything to me. I mean, we came into the world through relationships of one kind or another. We will leave the world having had relationships. And it's so important. Every day my life gets smaller, and I don't leave the house very often, but I'm always in connection with someone who means the world to me, whether that's on FaceTime or the phone, or they come to the house, or we go out for coffee, whatever it is. So I think that's what truly makes me happy.
So, funny you talk about Facebook friends, because I wanted to touch a little bit on, we had a brief conversation about some of your friends when you did the I've Got 2 months to live. I remember there was a lot of friends that came and said goodbye and embraced you, and you're still here, right? But some friends were not as receptive to coming back and spending time with you after that 2 months was up, because they had actually said their piece and accepted that you were going to die. I want you to touch on that. And a lot of times people say social media friendships aren't real. I disagree. But touch a little bit on how your friendships have been affected by you having cancer, giving the 2 months, and then you're here still.
Right, what a great question. So I'm sure that everybody watching and listening to this has been through something in their life where they've been challenged and they've really needed their friends. So I don't think this is a topic that hasn't touched anyone.
Oh, for sure.
And of course, again, I'm not suggesting somebody has to have cancer to go through this. I never mean that. My platform, if you will, is cancer. But I mean, everybody has had terrible things happen to them.
Poverty, yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter. I guess there's always, we surely all of us have faced an occasion where we need our friends. So you asked about where, first of all, when I was diagnosed. Interestingly, all my friends stood up to the plate, if that's the term. So, yeah, stepped up to the plate at that point and were amazing. And I really, I felt honored. It really put into question who I was as a friend, and it totally shifted, Rachael-Lea, the kind of friend I was, because I guess what people watching this evening don't know kind of who I was before, but I was definitely type A, totally highly driven. I was a workaholic. I didn't do anything but work. I mean, looking back, it amazes me that I managed to function, because all I did was work. I didn't have anything else in my life. So I felt truly humbled that my friends would step up and be so gracious when I had not really stepped up into our friendship for them.
Right.
But yeah, with this, it was interesting. Like when I got the prognosis, again, everybody stepped up and of course was shocked, and it was awful. But since then, as you explained so well, people have what I call run for the hills. There's been a couple of people who have not, have either just gone AWOL, and I haven't heard of since that point, or have made it clear to me that it's not been very easy for them, and then have cut ties. So what's that like? Well, there's two ways. One, I'm going to be very honest and say it's incredibly hurtful, because no matter how logical I can be about it, there is that part of me that feels wounded and sad, because I've gone from a very rich relationship, and two of them were people that I connected with once a week for a very rich conversation. So I've gone from that to absolutely nothing, and not really understanding, apart from being told I was going to die, that's the reason that we no longer talk. That seems very sad. And then when I'm able to, and I feel more coming from that place of love, I guess, then I have to consider that person is doing their best. And I don't mean that in a patronizing way. I truly believe we all have a capacity, and we function at that capacity, whatever it is we are able to offer. And I know without doubt, not one of those women is malicious or woke up and said, well, I've decided I'm never going to speak to Annabel again. I mean, there's no way they would think like that. This has not come from ill will. This has come from confusion and hurt and sadness and fear, or whatever. I mean, it's not up to me to decide what it's come from. That's not my place. But I am aware that we all are giving to the best of our ability. And maybe that's all that person can for now, or in this lifetime, who knows? So I don't mean that to sound patronizing. That's the way that I can cope with it. Otherwise, to be honest, Rachael-Lea, I think I would be incredibly hurt and very wounded and sad. But I also feel that, like I've said, life is for living, and my focus deserves to be on the incredible friends that I have who have shown up, who are shit scared, who aren't happy about the situation, who would love to turn it around for me. And yet what do? They show up every day. It's no easier for them than the others, but they do show up. And so I choose my focus to be on those amazing souls instead, who call me every day or do whatever they do.
Okay, I have another question. I just know I'm trying to get in as much questions. You're such a beautiful, eloquent speaker. I feel like we could be here forever. But right? Because we can talk. You and I have had some really wonderful conversations. You are married, right? One of the
Yes.
questions that I wanted to ask is, do you want your husband to find love again?
Oh yes. So this is very cool, isn't it? Because we always hear this when, like, if we watch movies or read books, the person always says, "I want you to find someone else." And of course, I want Michael to find whoever makes him truly happy. I mean, right now my heart soars knowing that if it arose, he would have that opportunity. Why on earth would I want him to be locked in grief or unhappy or to have committed to a single life or whatever else might go on, whatever his ego tells him or my ego tells me now? Why on earth would that make any sense? Not at all. I would, I mean, you asked, what do I do to make me happy? I think your question was, and all I want is for him to be happy. So whenever that time is, for him to do whatever it is, he's a great motorbiker. So I have no doubt that at some point, because we always used to laugh because I seem to be in a fight between him and the motorbike. Who does he love more? Who does he spend more time with? Mm-hmm. So it would not surprise me if he goes off for a huge long trip, at least one. I think that will nurture his soul on many levels. I don't think it will answer anything, but I think it will give him some things. Okay. And who knows what's possible? Who knows who or what, who he'll meet and what will happen? But yes, a sort of long roundabout answer, Rachael-Lea, I'd love him to meet someone. I think, like I said, life is about relationships.
Yes.
And he deserves that, for sure.
Wow. Okay. Sarah, I think you're getting used to my my quick question. Sarah asked a really great question. What is something you would just say to someone who just found out they have cancer?
Oh yeah, so Sarah, actually I did a video on that. I haven't done many because unfortunately I got so overwhelmed and then quite ill. I want to do some more. I'm fired up. But that was one of my earlier ones. It was things you can say to someone who's just been diagnosed. I think that was even the title of it. I think one of the things that the feedback that I've had still, in fact, a lady sent me a message only last week on Facebook saying that her husband had been diagnosed with cancer in the last month or so, and she found that particular video very helpful. And one of the things she still uses is I said, and I got this, this isn't mine, I got this from, I can't remember what her name is. I think it's Sheryl. Is it Sheryl Sandberg? She's one of the CEOs of Facebook. I don't she can't remember what her name is. Sorry, I'm sure people watching will remember her name. Amazing woman. Her husband did exactly what I've described earlier. He dropped dead. I think they were going out for dinner. He went to the gym and he said, "I'll meet you at the restaurant," or whatever the story was. And he was in the gym and he dropped dead. And forgive me, I can't remember quite the ins and outs of why. But that was the scenario of not having any ducks in a row and not having that privileged time that I've had. But what Sheryl Sandberg, I think her name is, said, I heard her interviewed. It was a great interview on the BBC in the UK. And she said people, and this happens to me all the time, people asked her, "How are you?" So people ask me, "How are you?" Well, how the heck do you answer that? So her husband had died suddenly. How on earth could she answer how she was? But she tweaked it and asked her friends and loved ones to say, "Can you ask me, how are you today?"
Yes.
So my friends asked me that. Oh, it's the difference between night and day. It's amazing. Because if somebody says, "How are you?" So, oh my God, I just don't know how to answer that. Well, have you got 3 hours? Or I don't know, just one or the other. How are you today? Well, I can answer that. I've had a really, really good day today. If you had asked me yesterday, I had a really shitty day yesterday. But today has been a very good day in comparison, and here are the reasons why. So that's something I would definitely recommend saying. And another thing is that my friends are always asking what they can do. Just so amazing. And no, please know that you can always do something. I don't have very many local friends. I have a very small group of local friends, but I have like an entire army of people that live across Canada and in the States and Britain, and then also places like Australia, New Zealand, and Europe. And I feel very blessed. Now, those people might think, particularly best friends I have in Britain, for example, well, what can we do for Annie when she's in Canada? But they do so much. Like a friend this morning sent me a short video telling me how her day was going. Or somebody might send me an article to read, or something funny to watch on TV, or a joke, or something that they've read. I don't know. There's always something. And I think one of the best things you can do for somebody who's diagnosed is to ask them, what can I do for you? Because usually there is something. Even it could be down to, can you drive me for an appointment? Can you make me dinner? So practical, hands-on things. Or it could be, can you just sit here and give me a hug? Or can you sit here while I tell you how crap this is? Whatever it could be emotional, it could be support, it could be physical, hands-on, sort of what I call tangible support. But by asking, it means the person can tell you what they need exactly, and then you can make the decision. You don't have to do it, by the way. Please then don't think you have to say, oh God, okay, now I have to cook dinner for 4 nights in a row. No, you don't have to do that. Cook dinner for 1 night. But at least you've been given something to do. And what I've learned, Rachael-Lea, if I can just say this, is I think we all thrive when we've been given something to do. I don't know what it is. It's the human psyche. When we feel like we're involved and we're taking action and helping, I really feel like something shifts within us, and it feels better. I think when we learn someone has cancer or they're going through something terrible, there's that feeling of helplessness. Like, oh, I don't know what, I'd love to do something, but I don't know what to do. So if you just take the weight and the pressure off yourself, ask the person, what do you need from me? What do you want me to do right now? And if they say, I've got no idea because I'm so overwhelmed, then say, well, when you do know, please come back to me and tell me because I'm right here.
Okay. Another question I have for you. Thank you. Another question I have for you is, do you think about what happens after? Do you believe what's your belief? Do you believe we go on somewhere else? Our soul, we start a new life? Have you thought about those things?
I've meditated on it, and from some of the books that I've read, my conclusion and my understanding is the place that I will go on to is so filled. And I just want to preface something. Please, I want your audience to know I'm not woo-woo. I'm not pink fluffy clouds and ooh, that's not me at all. I mean, I'm pretty much take me as you find me. As we say in Britain, call a spade a spade. I mean, I really am. What you see is what you get. So when I say this, I mean this in a very incredibly deep, rich, heartfelt place. I strongly believe, and I conclude from what I've read, the place that I'm heading for is filled with what we call light and love. So it is a place of such richness, and I've used the word space and expansion before. I feel that I could only feel even more elevated, even more at peace, even more loved, and even more loving, even more able to love than I am on this plane. So that's I don't have a great knowledge of it, Rachael-Lea. I haven't read tons of books. I don't really have any desire to, but I've read some, and that's I say with confidence that's where I'm heading. So I mean, and again, that it took a while to step into that, and that was the last 6 months of 2017. where I prayed and I meditated a lot around that. But that's when the peace around dying kicked in, because I felt that that's the place that I'm heading for,
Right.
so there isn't anything to fear.
Okay. Now, you had 2 months to live. Well, so they said. You're 6 months in. Are you angry that you had accepted it? Does it piss you off? Shit.
Yeah.
You know?
So I have said, yeah, you know that. I think I said to you one time that I feel a high level of pissosity. That's what I said. Yeah, I think I felt the pissosity kick in when we started moving through October, and I was like, hang on a minute, I'm still here, and what's going on?
Yeah.
And perhaps people listening to that would go, are you crazy? Aren't you grateful? And this is madness. I don't feel that right now, but I definitely went through that of this is how it was supposed to be. And I spent a long time working out things and getting things organized, sorting things out. And then, hang on, I'm still here. What's going on? And also, I guess as well, you said about anger. I'm not sure I feel angry, but there are perhaps elements of anger where I am in a lot of pain. I am physically in a lot of distress. And knowing that there's more to come, I would have liked that to have been over. Wouldn't it be nice if it was all in a neat little 2-month box and it was all over? But no, for whatever reason, I'm still here and I'm enduring a lot of pain and discomfort. So that leaves me a bit pissed off, I can tell you, sometimes. Yes, it's a strange one, because one would think I would feel the gratitude and the delight in having more time. And on good days, I definitely do. But on the not so good days, it feels like a struggle, and it's not such a gift, for sure.
Yes. Sarah said, you're an absolute inspiration for humanity. Your information and positive outlook is more appreciated than you could imagine. So,
thank you.
And Renee said, love, I guess this was about where you will be after death is, she says, love that, very metaphysical for me. So yeah, I think it's important to have these kind of conversations. If you guys have questions as well, please feel free. I do have some more. Oh, okay. So yourself and your husband, obviously you have a romantic relationship, you're married, all of those things. As a caregiver, when your husband became a caregiver, did it change the dynamics? Do you know, like, did you go from romantic partners, like, or the love is passionate and so there, but did it shift? In regards to caretakers, I'm talking, because a lot of times they can feel like it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what an amazing question you asked. I mean, I don't know if anybody watching, you probably just saw my whole energies went, ugh. Yeah, I mean, I feel the poignancy of that so much for Michael, because as anyone, I know he's not unique, but anybody in that caregiver role will experience and has experienced that the dynamic, you're absolutely right, Rachael-Lea. I mean, it changes like totally, does a total U-turn.
Right.
Because in some respects, there's a high level of dependency upon him, because there are things I cannot do without him. And for example, my ankles and legs were so swollen earlier this week that I couldn't even bend down. Like, he had to help me dress. I also have a caregiver that comes in certain times during the week that helps me shower and dress. So there's things that I can't do around the house. I don't drive anymore. I mean, I am severely limited in various ways. So practically, his role went from very even. I mean, I was such an independent woman, so very, very even, doing stuff on our own, doing stuff together, just that sort of collaborative relationship, to a dependent one. I mean, now he does all the grocery shopping. I have to give him a list of the things I've thought of, just things like that. So the practical side of things. And then when we think more intimately, I have no interest at all in anything sexual or intimate, especially when I'm feeling so utterly awful. I mean,
Well,
I'm incredibly...
there's some women, cancer or not, are like, forget it, man. But
well, it's just that I feel I don't feel good about the way I'm on high doses of steroids at the moment for the inflammation. That's changed, like, my face, my whole body's changed shape, my belly's all swollen, I look heavily pregnant all the time because of the tumors. Things like that don't make me feel good about myself. But we have the relationship. It's not like I'm ashamed or I don't want him to see that. He sees me in all my glory and loves me just as he always has. But I feel different with him without question. And of course, our relationship has changed because we both have very different roles now that we just don't have the energy for that part of it. But I think what I remember saying to you a week or so back, love, was what it has done is the sheer respect for him and the I can't tell you how humbled I am by him, if that's the expression, and in awe I am of him.
right.
He, without question, is the most extraordinary person who I've had the blessing to know in my life. That this man chose me to walk this path on, what was it now, 23 years ago, I think that's right, 23, 24 years ago, is still with me, is not going anywhere, and that we still have the kind of tight relationship we have. It just boggles my mind, everything we've been through, certainly the last 3.5 years. I am in awe of who he is. And I think that has taken over. Anything I feel we might be missing that we once had,
Right.
I feel has been taken over. I'm just humbled by him, how extraordinary he is, who he shows up as every day, to be the very best. I mean, he's got the most amazing sense of humor. He laughs at everything, especially himself. He's self-deprecating. And I know he is scared shitless, and he gets up every day and he just gets going, and he's there for me. So I think all of that and how I feel about that has become my priority, and what I see as more, more relevant. I don't think it's more important. I think it's just more relevant for what we both have to offer one another.
Right. So, what do you have to get done? What are there some things, amazing things? What's on your list to get done that you can?
Oh my goodness.
Tell
yes,
us.
Well, it's about the bucket
We're going to hold you to it. So what are the that you want to get done?
Yes, so the bucket list was an interesting one because when I sat and wrote it in August after this prognosis, because here's the thing, I didn't have a bucket list before then, so get that bucket list written, guys. I didn't have one before, and of course I was at a point where I wasn't able to fulfill most of the things on there because, curiously, I think there were about 11 things, and I think 9 of the 11 were travel. So we did do 2 of them. We went back to the UK and we went to Nepal, but the others I was not able to do because there was just not the time or the energy to keep jumping on the planes and doing it. I just couldn't have done it physically. So what do I want to do? I still want to do the things on the bucket list, but I found ways of enjoying them, people bringing them to me, as it were. So, for example, one of them was to go to Vermont and New Hampshire to see the change in the seasons in the fall. I'd seen a documentary when I was a kid of the color change of the leaves, and I'd always wanted to go. And one of my best friends lives in New Hampshire, and she came to see me. It was actually when I was in the hospital in the palliative care in early December. she flew over to see me, and she bought me a leaf that she had pressed from her fall. So it was a bright red leaf. And she also sent me a whole bunch of photos at the time during the fall of the color changes in the garden and the scenery around where she lived. So that was beautiful. So my bucket list now is very small, incremental things to enjoy day-to-day life. So that could be, for example, one of the new Facebook friends I have, thanks to my journey and people sharing, I have a bunch of new friends on Facebook, and some of them live locally, which is fantastic. So one of those friends is very keen for me to take me out to a local restaurant that we both know and we've both been to, and so she wants to do that. So that's on my bucket list, to do that. So something seemingly quite small, but big for me, because we're going out, wonderful, get out the house, but also I get to meet her and enjoy her company and her lovely energy. And also to do things, Rachael-Lea, like enjoying the sunrise in the morning, to see the sun on the leaves. I have the time, which I never made before, to enjoy that sort of thing. So one of the things on my bucket list is to be present to the beauty around me. We have a wonderful garden. The leaves will hopefully shortly be coming back on the trees. We've had some gorgeous mornings. We haven't had snow like you guys have had. Yeah. So I've been able to enjoy, yes, aesthetic snow rather than snow that is horrible and treacherous like you guys have and really affects your quality of life. We're so blessed here on the West Coast. We have nothing to moan about. So to enjoy the present moment and what I have around me, that's on my bucket list for sure. And then there's a couple of things that to feed my soul, to keep me connected, and something I feel passionate about. There's a couple of things I'd like to do that I guess you could call work, because I don't work now. I used to be a coach and work privately with clients. I don't do that now, but I do have some ideas up my sleeves of things that I'd like to do based on some of the things I've learned and discussed with you this evening. Mm-hmm. Just some things that don't take a lot of my energy, that when I commit to, I can honor, because I don't want to promise and then not be able to deliver because I'm too ill or I'm too tired or whatever. So I've got some ideas of products and also of some live things that I would like to do. And that feels exciting. And it also feels doable. It's not taking on too much. It's doing something that's nurturing my soul.
Absolutely. Now, thank you. When you connect with people, right? Like, for example, we've connected and, I will say that part of, and it will be for another Real Talk, but, part of our connection is around health. And, I've had recently something scary, something scary. So it made me kind of look at myself and go, shit. Any one of us could die at any time. And so my question is, do you think that you're the next to go, or do you just assume that you're the next to go? And how would you feel if somebody went before you? Not that I'm planning on it or anything. It makes you look at your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it makes us look at our lives as very vulnerable and unexpected, and there are certainly no guarantees. I think that's what helps us shift gears, and I hope that then it can help people think, well, there are no guarantees, so therefore, how am I going to live my life? Mm-hmm. Am I really grabbing life with both hands? Am I really making every moment count, or am I sort of in the rat race, in that hamster wheel, being that type A driven workaholic? And there's no judgment of that person. I mean, that's who I was. I look back and I don't it's a very healthy way to be. I think there's more to life than that. But am I in the moment? Am I present, enjoying everyone and everything around me?
Mm-hmm.
You asked, do I think, am I going to go next, or could somebody else? I mean, I'm not really sure that I think that way. I probably think more of, you're absolutely right, Rachael-Lea, that my goodness, we could go at any given moment, and we don't know. I mean, we hear this, what I call rather irritating comment of, oh, I could be hit by a bus tomorrow. I mean, that's kind of annoying and irritating, because I don't know what the likelihood of that is.
Yes.
Perhaps it's up there, I'm not sure. I don't know that that's helpful when somebody is worried about a health condition or something. And somebody says, well, you could be hit by a bus tomorrow. I don't know that that's a very practical or helpful thing to say,
Yeah.
or likely. But I think rather than worrying, is it me or is it going to be somebody else, or what would that look like, more about, well, there is an opportunity, it could be me, so what am I going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
How will I now live my life? Will I show up in exactly the same way, or are there tweaks to be made so that I can look back and in hindsight think, yeah, I did that, I said that, I was able to such and such. I guess basically it's down to, I have no regrets, because I was able to. And again, it's not, for me, it's not all about the doing. I mean, I used to go by, oh, I've written the book, I've created these live events, I've done these trainings, whatever it was. Yes, well, that's fabulous and important, but I think also the loving conversations and the hugs and the time spent with people. Have you done all of that as well?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any regrets?
Any regrets?
If you could, because someone just asked, let me just put it up.
Oh.
Someone said, I'm not sure if you answered this already because I missed this. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently? So I guess in life, or what would you, is there anything that you would have done differently? You did mention that you were a workaholic and you didn't really take time to like smell the roses, but anything else you can think of?
Yeah, I don't think I would have lived the last 3.5 years any differently. So sort of from the original cancer diagnosis, August 2015, I don't think I would probably, I mean, obviously there are things that I might have done slightly different, but I don't lie awake at night thinking, my God, I really regret that. I don't think any of that would have been different. I think I took the opportunities I had for healing, as I said, a more holistic approach, as well as chemo and surgery. I think I did well there, doing a balanced approach. I think probably more it would be towards who I was prior to my diagnosis. You're right. I'd like to go back to her and say, in many ways, thank you, because you were so driven. You were an achiever. You were this person. It's probably helped me last as long as I have, from one of the most aggressive forms of cancer out there, with one of the highest percentages of not making it through, if that makes sense. And I did. I mean, I've had 3.5 extra years, and that I'm sure is down to the driven part of who I am. That part who won't say no and keeps going and is an achiever. I think I'd like to go back to her though and say, enjoy yourself. Take a bit of time out. Like, life is for living. It's not just for working. And forging those relationships and understanding what good friendships mean, that sort of thing. So I'm not 100% sure that I've got big regrets, other than perhaps being a little softer back then, rather than so focused and determined.
So someone, after you have gone, fill in this sentence. That Annabel, she was, how do you want people to talk about them? What would you
Oh my God, I have no idea.
or better yet, what do you think people would say about you?
Hey, I love this. Great. What would I want people to say? Well, let me answer that first. I guess I would want people to say she did grab life with both hands, with the life that she had. Like I say, my life has become a lot smaller now, but it's not like I wake up and just throw the duvet back over my head and think, oh God, I don't want to get up. I mean, I do try to live life through that day as best as I can, even if the most poignant thing I've done is look out the window and see the sun on the trees. I really want to see life around me. So I hope that's how I would want to be remembered, that I did grab life with both hands. And then, sorry, Rachael-Lea, I think the second part was how would I want to be remembered? No, was it? No, what was the second? How do you think they will remember me?
Yeah, or let's do this. 3 words that describe you. Think of 3 words. I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, one of them for sure, resilient. Another, brave. And another, well, what comes up, so I won't question it, empowered.
That's amazing.
I think resilient for sure, because so much, as indeed Michael is, so much has been thrown at us that there has been, resilience has been required through all this. I don't think I'd have got very far if I hadn't been resilient. And I do think that I'm brave. So yeah, and what was it? Empowered. Yeah, I feel like most of my choices come from an empowered place. And I'm much quicker at making decisions these days. I used to be very dithery. Oh, I don't know. Like, you know, the kind of person that went to a restaurant and I would say, oh, I have this. Oh, no, actually, no, I have it. And I'd be changing what I wanted off the menu. And then somebody would order something. Oh, no, I wish I'd had that. Oh, no. So now I feel, and I have really big decisions that are required of me. Like on Monday, I was in the hospital. I had to answer things quickly. So I think that those decisions come from an empowered place.
Right, because on Monday you were given the news that your tumors have actually grown quite a bit.
Yes, at the end of last week, but yes, and then I was back in the hospital, and I went in to have a drain to have fluid removed, but that wasn't possible. And I think why that hit me, Rachael-Lea, was it was sort of confirmation of what my doctor had said at the end of last week, that now this bloating isn't really the fluid, which we hoped, it's the tumours that have enlarged and spread. So yeah, that was hard, because it was like it's one thing talking on the phone to my oncologist about it, but then having sort of tangible evidence in a hospital of it, that was pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is, and we'll oh, you know what? I was looking down at my phone, and there's a delay, and I was looking at it like, she's talking. No, she's not. There's a delay. Any last insightful things you would like to tell those of us who aren't, not that we know we're dying. Everybody can die at any time, but is there anything that you'd like to, you've told us so much, you've inspired us so much. Any last things that you'd like to tell people? And then I have one more question after that.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess very briefly, the last thing would probably be down to saying what needs to be said. I feel so strongly about that, Rachael-Lea, that I know it's easy for me to sit here. I don't know, as you sit listening and watching me, what's going on in your life, your audience's life. I don't know how tough things are, but I do know that having that support network around you is priceless. Having good friends that have your back, that will do anything, will send those lovely text messages or videos, and you know they're there, even if they're the other side of the world. And I think being able to have the conversations and whether that's an apology or to say how much you love them or to thank them for being in your life. I just feel that is so important. And I love it when I'm able to say to my friend at the end of a phone call, or I love you, and to say it into their eyes and to mean it. I think in our culture, I don't know if it's more North America, I don't know. There's this love you kind of idea. Like I hear it all the time. People on there say love you, and I'm sure the person does love the person they're saying it to. I don't doubt that for 1 minute. They don't not love them, but can they say it in a way where they genuinely mean it from their heart? I really love you, and thank you for being here in my life. So I guess that if there's any parting thing, it's that. Like, are you able to tell the people in your life? I mean, you may not want to say you love them, or that may not be necessary or comfortable, but to let them know that you're grateful for being there, I think that's a huge gift. And also, just to go back to one of the questions somebody asked earlier, just to remind people, never be scared to ask, can I help you in any way? Like, what do you need from me? And that's to any friend. Certainly, they don't have to be going through cancer, but they could be going through any tough time in their life. How can I help you? Because knowing that you're being helped means the world. Like knowing that my friends want to help me, oh, that just means the world to me. Can they? Probably not. I mean, what can they do apart from wave a magic wand? But knowing that if they could, they would do anything. I mean, that just means the world to me.
Mm-hmm. So you made so many good friends in this short period of time. I felt very connected to you. And there's, it's weird. We've talked about this. Do I feel sad? I just feel grateful. Does that make sense?
For our connection,
our time. So does with meeting all of these amazing people that you've met, are you okay knowing that it's going to be a shorter than you'd like time? Or do you sit there and go, gosh, I wish I had a little bit more time?
I think so. I think I do that. I think, oh gosh, these people. I mean, obviously, not every friend I've met is a short. I mean, I have friends like one of my oldest friend I met when I was 3 in Britain. Another friend in Britain when I was 11. I mean, they're as dear to me now as they were when we were kids, and all the rest of it. They're vital parts of my life. And then I have friends who have shown up. There was an article written in a local newspaper about me last fall, and I think that's how yes, I think your sister may have sent you the article. Perhaps it was an online one, and then it was in the physical paper as well. And so a couple of local people connected with me on Facebook through that. So that's a newer friend, you could say. And then, yes, of course, there's a part of me that thinks, darn it, these amazing people have shown up in my life, and I would love to have had more of an opportunity to get to know them. But then I feel like that about my nearest and dearest who are old friends too. Like, gosh, I want every minute of the rest of my life with them, and I wish that my life was longer to spend with them. But again, I guess it comes back to grabbing life with both hands and making the best of what I have. And that's what I'm here now, and what I'm doing.
Hold on, I'm going to put that up. Life with whoops. So that is Annabelle's hashtag, and I would love it if you all hashtagged her, grabbing your life with both hands. Now, what's kind of cool, and I would love it, guys, if you did this on the thread, because Annabelle, you might not know some of these folks, but these folks I know would want to share. So Annabelle's been asking, share a little bit of your world. Go on your phone. Sorry, there's an echo, but go on your phone and show Annabelle a little bit of your world. I think that would be awesome. And so please feel free on this thread to throw up a little video as a comment and show her what's going on in your world. I think that would be awesome. All right.
I would love that. Thank you.
I think that's great. Now, I want to thank you so much for coming online. Do you know we've almost been on this thing for almost 2 hours, which is
Uh,
not over, about an hour and a
well,
half.
maybe an hour and a quarter.
Yeah, hour and a half. But it was amazing. It was amazing. And, whether you're here 2 months, 3 months, I just think you're an amazing, amazing individual. You've inspired so many of us. And I know both on my page and your page. And I'm grateful. I'm really grateful.
Thank you, Rachael-Lea. Thank you, love.
So, like all of my real talks, how I begin is how I end. So I'm going to put on some Bob Marley, and then we're going to 1, 2, 3 it, okay? Are you ready?
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. So grateful. Are you ready? All right.
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. Have a great week, guys. And thank you so much, Annabelle.
Thank you.